Hi, and welcome to week 7 in Social Work 664, Treating Trauma. Congratulations, you have made it to week 7. All of your hard work and reading, working on your discussion posts, your journals, your trauma explanation videos, and thinking very deeply about a subject that touches all of our lives in both personal and professional ways. Thank you so much for your reflections, your intentionality as you go through this course, and your commitment to your own self-care as you practice some of the activities that we have done in both technique demonstrations and then also in some of the coping resources at the end of each week. So for this week, it's really about synthesis, and it's all of the work that you and the class have done throughout this journey. And in this type of synthesis, it is also recognition that trauma is such a new field. It's really only been around and increasing in the last 30 years, and especially so as we've had MRIs and PET scans. And so we really see this as an introductory course with the idea that if you are interested in gaining more trauma information, that you may consider applying to the trauma certificate program. And it's something that I would recommend. I think that it is in high demand now. It is going to be in high demand in the future as we continue to recognize trauma as a public health issue. So for this week, your objectives, your readings are that you can step away from this week knowing how to apply some trauma interventions, and especially in regards to specific populations. We want you to be able to demonstrate some of the techniques you've been learning along the way, week by week, that are really geared to increase affect, someone's emotional regulation, their ability to trust others, and also reduce some of their own stress. So for readings, we have Chapter 8 in Rothschild and the epilogue in Vanderkolk. Our first discussion forum of this week really begins from week 6. So at the end of week 6, one member of your dyad or triad needs to post the YouTube link to your trauma explanation summary in this discussion forum. So this will count as an initial post. You want to make sure you title the post with each of the partners' names and the type of trauma, for example, New and Smith, and then insert the trauma topic video. And then by the end of this week, each of you should review 5 videos. And you want to make sure that you view all if possible, but you must view 5. And I want you to respond to each of the 5 videos that you watch, noting, and you want to be able to use the following headings: specific information that you learned from the video, specific strengths of the video, and constructive feedback you have for the presenters. We often see that people are able to provide affirmations in their feedback, but struggle when it comes to constructive. So I'd encourage you to think carefully about that. And so the initial post is due at the end of week 6, and individual follow-up responses are due between Friday and Sunday of week 7. You want to make sure that you are looking at the discussion forum rubric for this and noting that for response post that it should be at least 75 words, and you want to also be concise and have a max guideline of about 200 words. For our second discussion forum for this week, and really our final discussion forum, it is a 2-part one. And so for the initial post prompt, you will address therapeutic approaches and really develop a post that speaks to the use and impact of two therapeutic approaches to one or more people in the case example. We'll use the case example of the Widener social work shared case. You've seen it before in other classes and also in this class. And you want to make sure that you don't summarize the case example, since everyone will be using the same one. You want to make sure to write your own words, a summary of the material, and also cite any sources that are used. You want to make sure you're not relying on direct quotes. You want to paraphrase instead. You will need headings for each area, so make sure that you have these in there. The first one is to address and choose one somatic approach from Rothschild's chapters 5 to 7, and one therapy approach from van der Kolk's chapters 13 to 20. So again, cite and reference each text. And in the first area, really explain your therapeutic rationale for choosing each of these approaches, the somatic and the therapeutic approach, to be able to support Anita and or her family. The second piece is to describe how each approach will help Anita and her family cope with the trauma on a micro level, a meso level, and then a macro level for each approach, both the somatic and the therapeutic. So we're really just combining all the different things we've been doing over the last few weeks in this post. The second piece of it is in part 2 to answer one major takeaway from the course that you plan to incorporate into your future work. And also, if there's any thoughts or comments that you want to share with your classmates on how this journey has been for you, what you've appreciated about your peers in this process. So this initial post is due on Thursday. All follow-up posts are due between Friday and Sunday. And it is really, again, combining everything we have been doing so far and your chance to show the principles that you have been learning. Lastly, we have a self-care activity that we highly recommend you do. It's to really reward you for all of your hard work and give you a chance to de-stress, relax as you close down your course. So this is week 7 in a nutshell. And I do want to highlight a concept that I really call universal messages. And so when I think about doing work with people who are trauma impacted, one thing that I found very helpful is to have a type of list. And this can be a concrete written out list, or it can be one that you just really know in your own mind, but messages that we want to promote to people who have been impacted by trauma, and then really all of us. So it's universal in that way. And I think this can be helpful in focusing discussions, maintaining calmness in the process, giving a sense of clarity, and also having an overall sensitivity to what constitutes a healthy process when you're interacting with someone who's trauma impacted. So I want to share some of the messages that I have used over the years that may be helpful for you to adopt or to say in your own words. One is, I'm available. I'm available to help you process issues, needs, feelings that are related to the trauma you've experienced. I also think it's important to really emphasize why I cannot completely understand every aspect of your experience. I'm equipped to facilitate processes around understanding trauma, its impact, and approaches for your healing. And I also like to share that message of safety. I want you to make sure that you are feeling safe that you can ask me to stop at any time. You can set limits. You can reestablish your sense of safety and control of our processes together. Another message I often try to give is what happened that caused traumatic memories was not your fault. You're not to blame. Your struggles actually make sense. And the final two that I like to share with someone who's trauma impacted is, as painful as it can be to explore some of these reasons for trauma-related symptoms, we can find ways together to help you understand and to be able to remember without having to re-experience the pain. It may not even be necessary for you to specifically remember all the details. We can figure that out together. And the last message I try to give is, I want you to recognize it may be important to be both prepared and also patient about this healing process. Healing, as well as learning, growing, changing, they're all processes that take place over time. There's other things that we're doing, like grieving and addressing issues like shame and fear, helplessness, stress. There's no set timeline or deadline, and we just need to honor your unique process of healing. And I just really encourage you to add these messages to your own list in order to share this with those that are going through a healing process and to encourage them through this.